Good to see you all. Thanks all for coming. My name's Ed. I work for Menscraft, and Menscraft is a charity for men, which has been around for over a decade in Norwich. And essentially, they want happier and healthier men, and that just makes things better for everyone. That's what we think, pretty much. The work that I specifically do and have been doing for the last 3 years is working with men at risk of suicide. So I work alongside social workers and mental health workers and GPs, and they'll refer people into me. Now, COVID has created lots and lots of issues, and so there are waiting lists. And I think these are the same all across the country. We have to be patient. And so they've funded this project, which enables me to contact and talk with men who are thinking or ideating around suicide, and then also to have a bunch of activities which I have co-created, which means that I haven't said, you need to go and do a park run, mate. We talk about it together and we go, right, what are we going to do? What makes sense? What's achievable? What's kind of a smart target? What can we actually do? And so that's where I'm coming from with this talk. Very little of this is going to be, what you need to do is put some running socks on, get up and go running, because that helps no one. That helps, it doesn't help me, doesn't help you, doesn't help anyone. We all know that exercise is good for us. We all know those few fleeting moments when we've been a bit out of breath and going, oh yeah, I feel great. God, I might do this again in a couple of years' time. But actually, how do we be more consistent? And so there is a psychology to that, and that's related with all your favorite sports teams. But how do we have a little bit of that to put into our everyday life? So when I'm talking about mental health and exercise, these are the things that I'm targeting. So that's just a little introduction. I've got a whole bunch of notes. So if I look like I'm staring off to the side of the screen, just accessing my notes. What do we do already? There you go. Asking a question. What do? I will share that I take my dog out for a walk. I do that in the morning and the afternoon. Sometimes it's a long walk, so I might be gone for an hour. Most of the time it's sort of a 20-minute walk. So I walk up to a gate and back and go, yeah, you've had your, yeah, right, yeah, you've done your business, right, I'll come back again. What do I do outside of that? It really depends on the day and depends on some of the stuff that I do at work. But outside of that, I play a bit of badminton. I used to do a lot of swimming. I found swimming really useful when I was not very mentally well. Sort of actually immersing yourself in water and changing the temperature of your body can be a really, really good thing. So I think I talked about adjusting the temperature of your shower. If you're into that sort of thing, have 1 second of cold water, your body will wake up like a volcano going, whoa, what are you doing that for? Actually, it reminds us that we're alive and our blood will start pumping around our body. And it kind of gives you a similar feeling as to how you feel after a good bit of exercise. So sometimes generating those feelings in a sort of a cheaty stealth way can be okay. Brilliant. What is it? It is 150 minutes a week, which is what, 25 minutes a day of anaerobic exercise, which makes your heart beat a little bit faster than it normally should. It doesn't really make you drenched with sweat, but you can start, if you weren't wearing deodorant, you'd know what was going on. That's the sort of level of exercise that we want each day, just for a short bit. And that will add potentially years onto your life. Wow. So yeah, it's getting out of breath, but just a little bit. So
yeah.
Not if I had a dawdly walk to the pub and kind of stopped every 20 minutes just to say hello to someone, I wouldn't really be hitting my 25 minutes a day. What I need to do is sort of walk with purpose, kind of walk at the same speed as my rather poorly trained dog who's constantly pulling at the lead and wanting to sniff everything else in the world. But it's that sort of level, up, forward, moving with purpose. And it's really interesting because we've already heard a whole range of stories from sedentary to active to gym to issues around potentially age and mobility. These are things that I encounter all the time. The age range of guys that I work with is 18 to 75. Anything over 75 means that different organisations will pick them up. I work alongside things like Age UK as well. I work with guys that are really sedentary, guys that have been put into retirement homes, guys that have mobility issues, working with people who use frames, wheelchairs, mobility scooters. So it isn't about get a dog and your life will be better. Not for a minute am I saying that that is the answer to all our questions around fitness and mental health. I think it's about starting and about looking at what the blocks are. Often these blocks can be huge because I'm really happy in my life. I watch my telly, I watch my EastEnders, I have a can of beer, I'll eat a pizza. It's 9:15. I need to get up early tomorrow. I'm going to go to bed. And then the next night I'm watching EastEnders, having a can of beer, I'll have my kebab. Oh, yeah, I've got another early one tomorrow. I've got to go there. And so we kind of train ourselves into not being active, or train ourselves into ways of being which don't necessarily support us. And it's questioning those things, a bit like in previous talks about questioning where these thoughts come from. So we'll come to that as we go along. What does regular exercise mean? Slightly breathless, fast walking, cycling, jogging, mowing the lawn, swimming, playing a sport at a sort of intermediate level, that sort of thing. That's what we should be looking at. And if we can hit those 25 minutes a day, that's great. If we can't, well, let's not beat ourselves up. We're not failing. What we're doing is that we're trying to engage in something which, as we've already heard from some of the guys here, is going to make us feel better. Very rarely do I come back from a walk with my dog going, oh, I've had a rubbish time. I'll come to a dog walking story later. But yeah, once or twice I've had a bit of a rubbish time. What do we do at Menscraft? So Menscraft, we pride ourselves on working with people in a co-creative way, which means I will work with the person or the people that I've been given to work with, and we come up with an idea that hopefully fits not only their expectations, but my expectations too. There's a little bit of give and take. Looking through our calendar of activities, we do history walks on a Monday. We have a local historian. What this guy doesn't know about Norwich isn't worth knowing. I didn't realise that every single brick in the city has a relative piece of history or graffiti or was laid by a monk in some. It's wonderful. Walking around a city with someone knowledgeable is a huge thing. So we've got funding and we've helped people engage with that. We've promoted it. And I think it started off with, oh gosh, I remember joining in a couple of years ago and there was about half a dozen guys. And we were like, whoa, this is a success. There's now almost 24 guys that go around every Monday. There's a big old tour of them. And they're getting access to lots of different places, and the funding keeps rolling in because it's having a real positive effect on lots of different people. Now, some people say, well, Ed, what's this got to do with me? You know, not all that interested in history. What I'm sharing here is the fact that someone's got a passion, and then in putting that passion into place and connecting it with exercise, connecting it with an aspect of fitness, it's had a huge positive impact on other people. And in the last talk I did, I talked about one of the passions that I've got. Sharing your passion is a good thing. Sharing what you do with other people is a great thing to do. Connecting with other people, enabling other people to see the world differently or to see it through your eyes. That's a great thing. We do walk and talk groups. So a lot of the guys I work with will have anxiety, stress, depression, suicidal thoughts, won't necessarily want to leave their house, won't necessarily want to leave what they're doing. What I can do with them is sort of a very, very basic sort of exposure session. So we talk and we meet, we go for a coffee, we go to the local shop, we go to the local community centre, we build up distances. I get them to come to our centre. That build up over 10 weeks, 2 months, enables them to potentially join in with our walk and talk group. We try and do 10,000 steps every Friday. Thumbs up. 2 hours of walking, that's all the steps that you need to do in a day. Makes you feel amazing. It's a really, really lovely way of starting the week. And we do it week in, week out, 9:30 to 11:30. Consistency, I think, is a really, really huge thing. Monday, there's the history walks. Friday, There's the walk and talk group. And people want to know how far we've gone. People want to know how many steps we've done. It turns into a bit of a game. So it's really silly. See, Joe Blogs 65. How many steps have we done, Ed? It's just like, well, have a guess. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong in just having a bit of a giggle, having a bit of a laugh, and being together with other people and knowing that what we're doing is having a really positive impact on us. We're getting ourselves from one place, which isn't having a positive effect, and putting ourselves in a much more positive environment where doing things and being seen to do things is okay. And it's supported by other people that want to be there. So these are the things that I'm hoping are connecting with you. One of the lovely things that came out of this walk and talk group was that we started having a kickabout in the park. One of the guys said, oh, can we buy a football? I've never, ever smiled so much than seeing an 18-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 65-year-old, and a guy with mobility issues having a kickabout in one of our local parks. Because blokes don't do that anymore, but we did. And there'd be like mums and dads and kids playing and feeding the ducks and a bunch of blokes having a kickabout Friday morning. Why not? When was the last time you saw a bunch of blokes on a Friday morning having a kickabout? I tell you, it's probably a rare thing. But why should it be? Why can't we use, yeah, exactly, Lee. Why can't we use these amenities that we've got in a really positive way? Sometimes it's just about giving ourselves permission to do it. Sometimes it's about linking up with an agency that can give you that little bit of support to do it. And that's a good thing. And that's a good thing. We ended up getting a cricket bat. We ended up getting a rounders bat. I was walking through Norwich looking like I was tooled up at one point with various weapons sticking out of my backpack. But it was great. And people turned up and we had enough people to field and catch and scream at each other and have a right old joke. Looking out my window today, the weather's looking awful. I'm got health and safety coming out my ears sometimes with the work that I do. So wet weather activities. I've got a centre that I can use. I can hire different centres. So hiring a community centre, it might be something to look into. And one of the things that we do is play indoor cricket. Bought sponge balls, bought bean bags, throw things in buckets, hula hoops. It's the kind of stuff that we used to do as kids. But when I connect being fit with enjoying myself, people want to be part of that. People want to be connecting with something that's fun and active and joyful. It's just brilliant. A bunch of blokes feeling like they've got permission just to be active, just to get up, just to go and do things. And one of the things, I think a guy came up with the idea of maybe creating an indoor golf course. And then at each indoor thing, you had to do like a circuit training thing. So like you get it in the hole, right? You've got to do wall push-ups. So you're not doing push-ups on the floor, but you're just doing them against the wall. Who knew? And so there's a whole bunch of sort of I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right, calisthenics exercises, which operate muscles in a different way to how they'd be operated at a gym. Yeah. So there are simpler ways of doing press-ups than just doing a press-up on the floor or a squat jump or a sit-up. So Peter, yeah, getting up out of bed, I'm with you. I had a pretty horrendous car crash a couple of years ago and knocked a whole bunch of stuff to sort of smithereens in my back. This time of year, don't want to go out. It's cold. There's a sort of a horrible alarm clock in my back going, yeah, it's cold. Stay in, eat pizza, have another beer. It'll be fine. But actually, one of the things that we put on is yoga, free yoga. Join a yoga session. If impactful exercise isn't your thing, do something really slow and calm. Qigong, yoga, there's all sorts of really, really amazing exercises that we can do. Yeah, yoga happens on a weekly basis and it's an essential thing for me to do. I take time out of my work to make sure that I go and do yoga. And if I can do something in a consistent way, I know that it will have a greater impact on me. Yeah, Pilates is something that I did, Dennis. It was one of those things where I really had to swallow a bit of humble pie because everyone else in my Pilates class was a woman of a certain age. And there I was, a bloke that couldn't stand up straight, trying to fix myself. And I tried all sorts of different techniques, but actually Pilates was the one. And the Pilates teacher I met was one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my life. Phenomenal woman, absolutely phenomenal. And so by putting ourselves out there, we also have this thing of being able to meet new people and gain new experiences. And these things, they're essential. They're essential. We often get very, very used to going, this is what I'm doing in my week. Lots and lots of these sessions will have first session free, if they're paid sessions. And so go along, find out what works. When I had my injury and I needed a way of fixing myself up, I did lots and lots of things and didn't really want to settle on Pilates, but I had to because it was the thing that was working the best for me, or it's the thing that fitted into what I needed. And I think it's the same for physical exercise as well. Other stuff that we do. So yeah, I was talking a little bit about yoga, consistent, slow, gentle exercise, like Peter's just been talking about. It is for all ages, all mobilities. Often it's around building core strength as well. So not to do with our legs or arms or our head. It's about to do with the central bit of our body, stomach, chest, back, and looking after all of the muscles that are in there. Because often, as we get older, they're the things that cause us the most problems. So attending to those on a regular basis has huge benefits. Other things that we've done as part of the organisational work that I do, park runs. Park runs happen all across the country and come with their own community. Lots of support, lots of people cheering you on. I've taken my dog along to park runs and walked with guys that weren't ready to run, and had a huge amount of love and support and care, and other people joining in and saying, yeah, I'm really glad you're here, really glad you're doing it, well done. And the consistency of going back week after week and going, last time it took us 44 minutes, this week it's taken us 43, this week it's taken us 42, and having that acknowledgement, seeing the time get better and better, seeing the weight come off, seeing other people join us. And I think sometimes we're surprised at how by ourselves taking a positive step, even if we don't think it, other people will be aware of that and go, oh, Joe Bloggs, he's taken up swimming, like he's swimming in rivers. I didn't know about, yeah. Why is he doing that? And the impact we've got on other people is huge. And so why not? Why not just start giving things a go? Yeah, the worst thing that can happen is that you don't like it and you have to try something else. Okay. Some people don't like going straight into big activities, say like park run. I want to do running, but I can't do it in big crowds of people. Fair enough. Couch to 5K got me running. I did it a couple of years ago, and I went from getting a stitch, even at the thought of running, to being able to run for half an hour non-stop. Unfortunately, running isn't for me. So I do walking exercises and yoga and lots of different things, and dog walking. Running for half an hour puts my back out. Quite sad about that, because I quite like the idea of running, but some of the things that have happened to me mean that I have to exclude some activities just because not everything's going to work. And it's about finding the thing that fits you. Finding the thing in the guys that I work with is empowering people to do that sort of thing, exactly, which is, oh yeah, I used to like doing this, but no one else is doing it. And it's these things that once we start going, right, here's the barrier, what's the solution? Where does this take us? Who else can join in? It's obvious that this guy loves cycling. It's obvious that this guy loves boxing. It's obvious that this guy loves going to the gym. How do we use these guys to encourage other guys to be like them? Because we all need that little nudge, that little push in the right direction. And not for a minute, Peter, am I saying that you should do that? Of course not. Of course not. I don't know anything about you. I don't know about your sort of physical mobility or your mental health. And I wouldn't necessarily want you to feel like you have to disclose anything. But one of the things that I do with the guys that I work with over 2.5 months is start unpicking and unlocking certain areas, which is, right, how do we pull that strand out and how can you use that? What support do you need to be able to get to that next step? And it's the same thing that gets in the way when we go, oh, it's raining, I'm not going to go for a run today. Oh, I should do this, but got half a bottle of wine that needs finishing. Oh, I should do this, but I said I'd go to the cinema with my mates. Awkward. Table tennis. There you go. Nicely segueing into table tennis. A guy I worked with, he was a young lad that I worked with. I talked to him, and there were issues around lots of things. But one of the things that he really, really loved was table tennis. And I was like, right, let's do it. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do it. Someone might see me play table tennis. And I'm young. I'm quite a cool guy. And I'm like, yeah, but we've just been like donated this German Kessler table tennis table. And it's awesome. It's got balls and bats and just come along. He's like, yeah, if no one else is there, I will come along. And so we organised a time where he came to the centre, empty. The guy, wow. I was talking about getting up and getting out of bed. I was bending over, picking up table tennis balls off the floor because he was just wiping the floor clean with me. Do you know what I mean? And so I was like, look, I am not at a level where I'm going to provide you any decent competition. Are you okay if we open this up to other people? And the fact that he'd got in, done, experimented, played with that idea was a good thing, because he was like, yeah, brilliant. So we set up a time to do it. The only time I could do it, unfortunately, was really early on a Wednesday morning. And so, what were we on Thursday? Yeah, yesterday morning, I had half a dozen guys down at the centre playing table tennis. It is such a giggle. Like, some of them are amazing. Some of them are like me and just spending most of the time looking behind them, grabbing table tennis balls from under chairs. But the other part of it is that we're chatting and talking, and not everyone can play, and there's a cup of tea on the go, and people have walked into the centre, and it's not just the 2 hours that we're there, it's the night before, knowing that you've got to go, getting your kit ready, making sure that you've remembered, writing it down on your calendar, being prepared, getting there, chatting, feeling mentally well enough to be around other people, feeling okay about being vulnerable enough to make a bit of a fool out of yourself if you're not good at something. Two thumbs and is not good at table tennis. This guy right here. Don't know what the different sides of the bat do. Other people do, and I'm like watching the ball curve and swing all over the place. Brilliant. After 2 hours, people finish, pack up, stack away, put it away, wash up, and they're all off home. There's a huge thing around that, which is then being able to sort of be in contact with other people and be able to be in a space with other people, which is okay, and deal with our own vulnerability, which I think is a huge thing psychologically. We don't necessarily, as men, want to be in another space and got to, how old am I? 44, got to the grand age of 44. Yeah, I don't want to show myself up, and I don't care. And I've given my permission to myself just to be okay with other people going, Ed, you're rubbish at table tennis. And I go, I know, right? I am the worst. Do you want a game? I don't care if I don't become a world champion at table tennis. What I like is the fact that my watch buzzes and goes, Ed, you're in a zone. You're getting zone minutes. I've got one of those Fitbit watches. Not everybody has to have them, but my missus got me one about a year ago. And there's a part of me going, oh, I'm handing over data to some invisible corporate overlord or something. Whatever. You know, I think knowing that I do a certain amount of steps, that I need to get my heart rate going, that I get a certain amount of decent sleep, that's a fair payoff for me. And if ever I get sort of strange messages from the Fitbit overlords, well, then maybe I'll cancel my subscription. Next steps. What do we do next? So these are all the things that happen. Well, some of the things, not all the things, but some of the things that happen as part of our club, part of our men's centre, part of the organisational work that we do, just to encourage fitness, low levels, different levels. One of the things we had was a guy that is a bike leader. So like you'd have a walk leader or a Nordic walk leader, there's people that take up bike leading. And so they are allowed to take people on tours. And who knew there were so many bike paths? I think if you type in local bike paths to your whew, there is a huge amount. They spended lots of that European Social Fund money on that, which is great. So if you've got a bike, great. If you don't have a bike, they've opened up a repair cafe shop bike centre near me. You can pick up a bike for 20 quid. And so one of the things that we're looking at is having a dozen bikes so that the people that do the walk and talk can then go, right, well, once a month, we're all going to go on a bike ride together. We're going to start in Norwich and we're going to head up to the North Norfolk coast. Might not get there, but we're travelling on county-owned, nice paved, gentle pathways with a leader, and we're going to get out of Norwich. Some of these guys that I work with stay in the estate or the area of the city that they live in, and that's it. I live in a little village outside Norwich. Do I go anywhere? No, not really. The older I get, the more sedentary I get. The less horizons I cross, the less broadly I see the world. It's something that happens, but we can challenge that by saying, how can we safely break down those barriers? We need to give ourselves permission. We need to have someone that shares that passion. We need to be able to feel okay with feeling vulnerable enough to give it a go, to just put ourselves in this new environment. That hopefully is a nice setup and a nice start to see what we can do next. Time check. Right, yeah, we're doing okay. I'm a little bit slow, but we've got a lot more to get through. Any questions while I take a sip of water at this point? The next bit here is what we do at home. So a lot of the guys I talk to will be like, yeah, it's all well and good, you've got all these lovely activities, Ed, but I'm not leaving the house. I'm not going anywhere. I am, you know, my mobility means that I can't make it to the toilet on time, let alone make it out for any period of time. And you're just like, oh, okay, so restraints and issues shouldn't hold us back. So what can we do at home? I worked with a young guy a couple of years ago, and he told me all about his bean tin gym. And I was like, what? Like, it's a gym? And I was like, what? And you use bean tins? It's like, yeah. You not heard about bean tin gyms? It's like, oh. I was like, tell me what. And he's like, well, that one, this one. And he's holding bean tins. Genius. You know, he had agoraphobia, so very, very rarely left the house, but knew that fitness was releasing positive chemicals in his brain and made him feel good. And it was part of his recovery. So he was having a weighted backpack with bean tins in and walking around his flat. Slowly, he got work with local community mental health team that did graded exposure therapy with him, and he started being able to leave his flat. It's fab. Really, really positive story. But all started with a bean tin, because he was just like, well, I've got to do something. And what is bean tin, 12p from Asda at the minute or something like that? So things that people can afford, things that people can do. He had access to the internet. He was looking up, I think there's sort of prison cell workouts and Joe Wicks workouts and all these sort of amazing things that people can do in the confines of even a bed sit. There's no barrier to us being able to do exercise, is essentially what we're saying here. One of the other things I like checking in with is some of the guys I work with are a little bit cheeky, a little bit older. And one of them started a discussion at one of the talk groups I run about creating a playlist. I was like, what are we creating a playlist for? He's like, well, this exercise thing you keep talking about, Ed. I was like, so what, like you're going to listen to something while you're running? But no, I don't. You've never talked to me about running. He's like, no, I've got this idea. Kitchen Disco, heard it on Radio 2. I'm making a playlist for Kitchen Disco. And then he just started dancing on the Zoom group. I was just like, this is amazing. We've all got favorite music. We've all got music that makes us want to get up and dance. We've all got things that take us to certain times and places in our life. And actually that then generates conversations, that then generates spaces and places and times for us to be brilliant and have a laugh, even if we're on our own, probably especially if we're on our own to begin with. During COVID, at the Ed Roberts household, we would have a disco night. I am all elbows and wrists. There's sort of all of that going on. but I don't mind. I was a 90s kid. So that was the rave scene. Other people I know like ballroom dancing and very particular things that they like doing. That's great. Get up, start moving. You don't have to have a dog. You don't have to have a tin of beans. But once a week, dance in your kitchen to 5 songs whilst you're making dinner. It's a wonderful thing to do. Other guys, slightly more adventurous, hike nights. Hike nights? Hike nights? What's that? They don't like going out for a walk during the day. They go out for a walk during the night. Wait for a big full moon, wait for big starry skies, wait for the Pleiadies or whatever it is, the shooting stars. They like bats. They like, yeah, there's going to be a group of us. We're going down to the local hills. Not that many in Norfolk, probably not that many in Lincolnshire either, are there? But torches, woolly hats, jumpers, some bloke from a local nature reserve. Great. Brilliant. Get out, do it. It doesn't have to be during the daytime. It can be any time. Another thing that they did with that was dawn chorus. So they're up at like 5 in the morning. It's not going to happen for me personally. I am not an early riser, but they loved it. Sky was a different color. The world was quiet. There are different times of the day that suit us. Circadian rhythms, that thing about waking up when the light enters the world and being around at that point. Yeah, very romantic, very nice, very good for the soul. I think it's really important to remember that there's so many different ways that we can be out and doing things, and that often we just say, no, we're not going to do any of these things. And even if it's just trying it once, hopefully we've got enough to last about a month now just to try one of these things once each day and just go, right, well, one of these things is going to fit, or maybe I'll try walking with a neighbour or walking with a friend, or I'll try this disco night and do a Zoom night where we're all doing a disco dance for 25 minutes while we're cooking our dinner. Backyard sports days. This was a grandpa, and he had, I think at the last count, he had about 30 grandchildren. And on any given weekend, he'd have maybe 6 or 7 of them over. And so he invented backyard sports day. And he had a tiny little backyard, but he had a bucket and a spade and a football and a bouncy ball and he basically did circuit training for kids and joined in and loved it. Brilliant. Told me all about it. I was like, that's amazing. So we could do that here. And so when I talked about wet weather activities and cricket, that's what we do at the centre. Throw beanbags in buckets, blow up balloons, keep it off the floor. It is simple things sometimes that we need to do. We don't need to join a Peloton bike club for £8,000 a year or something. Not that that's not a good idea, but you know, there are a lot simpler, cheaper ways of staying fit and healthy. Yeah, going to the local park, going to the park with your kids, going to the park with your grandkids, meeting up with other members of your family, or meeting up with other families, meeting up with other people. Talking about things earlier, sometimes men feel alienated from being in parks. Oh no, there's a weird bloke in the park on his own. Yeah, we've lived too long in that time. So take a group of people, go and do something fun. Safety in numbers. Use these spaces that we've got to use for free in a positive, brilliant way. It's a really, really brilliant thing to see the reactions on other people's faces. There's a maze in one of the parks in Norwich. It's called Wensum Park. You could probably even look it up on Google Earth. And it's got one of those labyrinth mazes in the middle of the park where you walk in and then you take a left and then you have to walk around and then you take a right and walk back around again. It looks like a kind of like peacock feathers. So you end up walking about 2 miles inside it before you get to the centre. And some of the guys had never ever seen it before. It's just like a brick maze that they've put in as like a decorative feature. They're like, so what's this all about? And so every time we go to that park, which is about once a month, we spend about 40 minutes doing this labyrinth, just because these guys like doing that. And it's discovering things that are in your local area. Dog walk story, yes. I was ill a couple of weeks ago. My dog got out of the garage, and I think there were some lady dogs across the fields that were on heat. I found out about this because when I took my dog for a walk when I was better, the owner of said lady dog said, "Is this your dog?" And I said, "Yes, it is my dog." He went, "Yes, he was outside my house at 2 o'clock in the morning last night, barking at my lady dogs." And I said, "I'm very, very sorry. I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Oh, what do I do with myself?" He was like, "Do not worry. I'm glad to know it's you." And we exchanged numbers, and I said, "Oh, it must have been, I fixed the thing in the garage, but he's not got out again. It's fine." I wouldn't have had that conversation with a complete stranger if I didn't have a dog. Sometimes we have to put ourselves in positions of vulnerability because that's okay. The following day, I getting back into my dog walking mojo after being hit by the snot truck of flu. It was horrible. It wasn't pleasant. And I've got a neighbour a few doors up, and she's brilliant. 2 of her dogs died about 8 years ago. Lovely collie dogs. And then her husband passed away about 3 years ago, and he got a new collie dog just before he passed away. And every now and again I see her out there just walking her not so new collie dog anymore, and she's just wonderful. And sometimes she's just not in the mood to talk, and so she'll just disappear off and she'll give you a wave or whatever. Other days we'll just sit and chat for about half an hour. Dogs are a wonderful thing because they kind of give you permission to be inside other people's lives or to connect with people on a regular basis that, I don't know her, but some of the chats we've had have been amazing, insane, brilliant, heartbreaking. Give ourselves permission to be vulnerable, put ourselves in an environment, invite people into that. That's okay. That's what it means to be human. That's what I think anyway. Sometimes we have to enable ourselves, and that means we have to deal with not meeting our own expectations. How do we cope and not give up at the first sign of things not working? How do we want things to be? And that's a thing that goes back to some mindfulness talks that I did before. What do you want? What do you want to happen? How do you want it to be? Internal chatter and being able to use our self-talk in a positive way to motivate ourselves rather than to hinder ourselves is a really important thing. And that links in with other things that we've talked about in previous Zooms. I think being able to connect with that positivity rather than that negativity of going, "Well, Ed, you're never going to go out. You're just lazy and fat and nobody wants to go for a walk with you." Well, if I listen to that, then I am never, ever going to go out. If I go, "Oh, it's a lovely day, I'm going to go out." "Oh, do you know what? While I'm out, I'm going to text my mate, Steve." "All right, Steve, how you doing?" "Yeah, I'm out for a walk today. Maybe next time I go, you can come." It's a different mindset. And so accessing that different mindset is sometimes as simple as just giving ourselves permission. It's not only, how do we put it? It's not only okay to be vulnerable, I think it's human to be vulnerable. And it's a gift. And how we use it and share it is really important. So the lady the other night just let me know that she was really missing her husband. Oh, it's not for me to fix it. It's not for me to be anything but just like, "Oh, he was lovely and your dogs were lovely. And yeah, thanks for chatting to me." Being there for other people, I think, is really key. Being able to be in places for other people is okay, even if it's just random encounters with people. I think investing in a group provides a great incentive. Investing money, signed up for 10 yoga classes, it's costing me 15 pence a yoga class. I can't afford 15 pence a yoga class, right? You're going to make sure that you go, not wasting money or not letting other people down through your absence. They're good incentives. If they work for you, use them. If they don't, sometimes they can create barriers. What if we're motivating ourselves? Sometimes specific, measured, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, smart incentives help us. Ed, you're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger tomorrow. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. If I wanted to, I might be able to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in about 7 years. If I really, really stuck at it. but I could do it. I've just got to be realistic about it. So being realistic about what we want to do, I want to walk at least 3 times a week. Okay. When are you going to walk? Monday, Wednesday, once at the weekend? Brilliant. Put them on a chart, put it on your calendar. Remind yourself on your phone. Do all these things. Take away any excuses. Make sure that you've got an umbrella, a nice pair of shoes. Make sure that you've got other people to help you with whatever activity that you're going to be participating in. If it's linked to weight gain or weight loss, if it's linked to timings, weight lifted, all of this sort of stuff, start small and work towards that sweet spot. There is no point going all out and going, oh, I'm never going to be able to run the London Marathon, having not completed Couch to 5K. You know, we've got to be realistic with ourselves. And often when I wasn't very well, when my mental health wasn't treating me very kindly, my realistic aims weren't very good. They didn't serve me very well. My internal chatter didn't enable me to go, right, yes, I am going to start running every day. I had to be much more specific. I had to be much more careful and time bound around how much time I could spend on any given activity, because changing what I was doing had a real impact on me. I think using the time to notice how our brains try to reinforce coping strategies of staying home and staying safe is a really interesting way, because we can set up all these things and still nothing happens. We can say, yes, today, definitely, definitely. And then we get to it and we go, oh, actually, oh, yeah, no, I've not got the right jumper on, so I'm going to go and sit down. Actually, can't be bothered. Oh, I might have a panic attack. I just don't have the energy. Listen to what you're telling yourself. Record down those things. Don't see it as a failure. See it as that opportunity to be vulnerable. And the first person you've got to be vulnerable to is yourself. Because without being able to take that step through that vulnerability, you're not really going to be able to get to the things that you want to get to. Removing boundaries by laying out equipment the night before, by making sure that your umbrella's next to the front door, by making sure your running shoes are at the end of your bed. Planning around things, recording the results of what you're doing. Often what I find is a lot of the guys I work with have every single excuse under the sun. So pretty much what my job is excuse remover. And it's like, sometimes you have like people that get bats out of people's attics or rats out of sewers. I remove excuses from people's lives. Reinforce, hopefully, positive messages that we can do things because we're amazing, brilliant, kind, gentle, vulnerable human beings. And there's no reason why we shouldn't. And the sooner we get on with it, the better the world is. More men walking around, being fit, treating their mental health well, equals better world. That's how I see it. Warning signs. So here we go. I've talked to you quite a lot. What are the warning signs that perhaps our mental health and our exercise routines aren't necessarily linked up? What do you think? What things? I've got a list of them here, but I want you to give me some examples, perhaps from your own experience or from friends or colleagues' experiences. I will give you a list of some of the things that myself personally, the guys that I work with come up with. Eating less, sometimes eating more, sometimes eating a lot more. Our eating habits can often really show us where we are. I don't know anybody else, this time of year, I sort of moved towards eating more pudding. It's cold, I feel a bit like a bear. It's cream, custard, gravy. Oh, if my blood is not 80% gravy by end of November, I've probably not done autumn correctly. So if I'm doing that, then I've also got to make similar changes to my physical health and the patterns that I put in place. So not saying you can't eat what you want, but those people that do just eat what they want probably have a huge metabolic rate or have a pretty amazing fitness regime to maintain not being drastically over or underweight. I've worked with men who have eating disorders, which is an interesting thing to talk about to a group of men anyway. You know, years ago, eating orders were generally only associated with females or women. Now we're getting to a point where we go, actually, eating disorders affect everyone. Trans community, men, women, young, old. And it's really scary. I work with older guys that have issues around irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. And so that then has an impact on what they eat, because certain foods cause attacks, certain foods help, certain foods don't. Limits their environment. They need to be close to a bathroom. They need to be able to support them. Who knew? Who knew about all these different things? Actually, widening our knowledge, widening our experience between acknowledging that what we eat has an effect on how healthy we are is a good thing to do. Other things that guys that I've worked with have noted about warning signs are irritability. Anyone here can put up their hand and say, Ed, I've never been irritable? There we go. I'm one of the most irritable people I know. Inside my head, hugely judgmental, especially when I'm driving. God, they're awful, those. Oh, I think we talked about that in the last session. But being irritable and it being uncontrolled irritability, yeah, that might have something to do and connect directly with the amount of physical health and well-being that we need to apply to our current lives. If we aren't looking at fitness as part of how we're staying well, then we need to. But we shouldn't be limited to going to the gym, going swimming, running. We all have different mobility. We all have different needs. We all have different mental health needs. There are spaces for all of us in this. Self-esteem wobbles. Sometimes I am ready to go. I remember when I first started running, I was ready to start running and be out there and get going. And then I looked at myself in my running kit and I think my belly was pushing against this new sort of day glow yellow neoprene. I was just like, I'm not going out like this. No, going back to bed. So I just got a different top, a different t-shirt. Guess what? I went out the next day. It was fine. But sometimes the way we look affects the way we feel. Sometimes the way we feel affects the way we look. It's kind of rational behavior. But actually, if we allow it to affect us and stop us from doing the things that we're planning to do to support our well-being and our physical fitness, then we need to address those and see those as the warning signs that they are. I've talked to you about working with guys with stress, anxiety, depression, agoraphobia, suicidal ideation. Yeah, these things can get in our way, but also a recognition of how we work within those boundaries to continue being able to access a level of physical fitness is key. Sleep disruption, sleeping more, sleeping less. Sometimes they're big signs. This time of year, I go into hibernation mode. Don't know about the rest of it. And the clocks have just gone back. Oh yeah, I'm going to go into a cave, gather some straw and some berries. I'm only going to appear for food. It's a very natural way of thinking, but also we can counter that by going, I don't need to eat high fat foods. I don't need to eat everything so that my blood turns into gravy. What I need to do is look at things in a much calmer, more balanced way. Sleep is key, and physical exercise helps us with sleep. So reconnecting with our sleep routines is huge. I had huge issues. Part of my mental health issues were around sleep. So I know quite a bit about sleep and sleep hygiene, I think is what they call it now. And being able to create plans just around a bedtime routine kind of made me feel like an infant again, saying a bedtime routine. But I needed to do that because otherwise I just wasn't having effective days the following days. Make sure that I stopped drinking tea, coffee, alcohol at a certain time. Make sure that I wasn't eating highly sugary or salty foods late at night. Make sure that I was having a dog walk at about 6 o'clock in the evening. Make sure that I wasn't taking, where are they? Screens. Everyone's probably got one of these in their pockets or nearby. Making sure they weren't part of my sleep routine. Making sure that I was having a wash or a bath before going to bed. I don't do that every night anymore, but reinforcing the fact that I was telling my body at every opportunity, now's time to relax, now's time to switch off. Then going through relaxation techniques, listening to white noise, doing a whole bunch of things to make sure that sleep was something that I could appreciate again. Really, really important. And lots of guys that I work with have huge issues with their sleep. Their circadian rhythms is knocked out. So they'll go to bed at 6 o'clock one day, they'll go to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day, they'll go to bed at 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. It's just like, where do you start? It's really key to bring back our sleep to where we want it to be. Warning sign is our memory. Sometimes we can be more forgetful. Actually having blood flowing and pumping around our body makes us feel more intelligent. It's a wonderful thing. I worked with a guy for about 3 years. So I worked with him intensely for about 2-3 months. And then he's continued to come to some of our groups. One of his family members said to him a couple of months ago, "You've never looked better." And he is attending the walk group 3 times a month. And so just walking for 2 hours a week has made his brother say in 2 years, "You look amazing." He's not muscles ripped, but slimmer, trimmer, carries himself more confidently. He goes out each week, something that he never used to do. He's changed a huge part of his life. He's not going to be prime minister next week. He's not going to start lifting weights for the Bulgarian weightlifting team or anything. But that's not the point. The point is that he's happier and more confident and more able and happy around other people and encourages other people. He's a really lovely man. And I'm really, really proud of all the things that he's achieved. Excessive drinking or excessive drug use can be a warning sign. You know, sometimes we get stuck in a pattern of going, it's Friday night, that's a bottle and a half or some such measurement. And we get used to going, yes, this is part of our lives. Alcohol, yeah, is part of lots of people's lives. It has a huge detrimental effect on people's health. This can be measured across the country, across the world. But how do we use it? We've got to have that conversation with ourselves as to where we put that in our calendar, where we put that in our week, where we put that in our month, where we put that in our year. Some people just drink socially. Some people drink every night. It's not for me to judge, but it will have an impact on our health. Withdrawal from social situations. That was a big one for me. With my mental health being here, there and everywhere, I became very sedentary, very used to being at home. Didn't really want to be around other people, didn't really want to interact with other people. So that in itself is a big warning sign that we actually need to combat that. We actually need to do something about that. Sometimes it's behavior which is out of the ordinary. Sometimes it's noticing things which don't quite work for us. Sometimes it's panic attacks. Sometimes it's outbursts or anger, feeling threatened. I know I should do this, but I'm not going to. Yes, I can, but I just not this week, not today. Well, if not today, when? And it's that thing of just planning in. Some guys I work with are still holding down jobs, and they're noticing that the things that they used to be able to do at work really smoothly, they're finding really hard. That's an interesting warning sign. It's like we need to start addressing that. We need to look at how being physically healthier, using fitness, can help us in our day-to-day lives, in our work lives. That just makes rational sense to me. The other thing would be a loss of interest. Just don't care. A bit bored. Edgy, generally so happy and funny and up for doing things. Yeah, I can't be bothered. I'm just gonna I'll go to bed early and eat pizza. We've all had nights like that. Of course we have. But if that's what becomes our new normal, then that's a big warning sign. So what fits into our weekly schedules? Not for a minute am I saying, tell me about what's going to fit into your weekly schedule. I'm going to give you an invisible person. So first of all, it is Guy. He's 22 years old. He's unemployed and he basically has no money. There you go. He lives in a small flat in the centre of Norwich. I work with about 7 of these guys. What advice could we give him? Based off what we've talked about today, what could he start doing? Unemployed, lives in a flat in the middle of a city. It doesn't have to be in Norwich, because Norwich is wonderful. There's so many things to do in Norwich. But he's got no money, so he's not going to be able to buy into anything. From what we've talked about, or from your own experience, what can this guy start doing to improve his mental health and his fitness? Thank you very much, Steve. Walking. Brilliant. What could he do? Is he just going to walk on his own, or could he look for something? My invisible friend here can, maybe join a walking group, maybe look to contact different organisations. In Norwich, there's a wonderful thing called All to Play For. So that's a football group which is run by the local health organisation connected with the county project and the community mental health team. So it's Thursday night football for guys that want to talk about their mental health but also have a bit of physical exercise. Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers, Dennis. Yeah. One of my colleagues yesterday works out in an area called Great Yarmouth, which is kind of one of the most easterly points in Britain. It's an area of huge deprivation. And so he was talking to this guy and saying, yeah, you should walk around the park. He's like, I'm not walking around a park. Park's full of drug dealers. But actually, there are lots and lots of parks that we can walk around. There are lots and lots of places that we can get to. And a lot of it is about timing. And it's just like, well, if you get up early in the morning, I don't get up early in the morning, though. And so there are all these battles, all these things that we have to put in place, all these things that we have to sort of challenge and try and sort of move around for people to be able to have access to a healthier lifestyle. And often it's that initial, no, I'm just not gonna. No, not gonna. This isn't for me. Thank you, but no. No, just not gonna do it. And just switching, just nudging into a different area, into a different thought. Okay, next guy. He's 34. He's got a young family, but he works nights. What can he do? Any ideas based on what we've talked about? He works 10 in the evening till 4 in the morning. So he gets home at about 5, goes to bed at about 9 after he drops his kids off at school. Could this be a real person? It is. Yeah. What does he do? Fitness class. Yeah. Could do. Before he goes to work in the evening. He doesn't start work till 10. Sleeps between 6 and 8 hours a day. So 9 through till about 3 in the afternoon. Yeah. Swimming. He's got loads of stuff that he can do, but basically it's based around what his partner is able to support him in doing. So sometimes the conversation is less to do with what do you want to do to what are you able to do? What can your partner enable you to do? How can the people around you support you? What do you want the people around you to do to support you? These are the questions that we need to ask. And sometimes then people go, oh, yeah, but I don't want to ask, because that takes us back to that thing about being vulnerable. Oh, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to say, oh, I've got to have me time or have time to go swimming. Brilliant. Let's get you swimming. There's things here for people on income support or low income where it's like a passport, fitness passport. I know lots of different counties do them. And so fixing people up with, right, swimming has gone from £6 a session now down to £2.80 a session. That makes it tenable and viable for this guy to be able to do it. And there's a swimming session once a week with other men. Brilliant. They do a sauna and a steam room and amazing. his confidence and fitness going up. By no means is he a Greek Adonis or going to be anytime soon, but his mental health, he likes having this evening. He likes having that time to himself just to be able to do those things and then get into work. That's great. That's a really, really nice step for him. I'm just going to check the chat. Yeah, swimming, fitness classes. Right, I've got another person. So this other person, reduced mobility, uses a frame, still works, but has to use mobility scooters to get around a supermarket. What advice would we give them with regards to being more active? Because often we think about being active as we've got to move our feet, we've got to move our arms, we've got to sweat. But some people are really restricted. How can we help him? Ding, ding, ding. Baked beans, yeah. Baked bean challenge. And actually, knowing the bloke that does the baked bean challenge means that I can ask him to talk to him if he comes along to a group. He goes, I can tell him, but actually it'll be better from you because he'll believe you, whereas he'll just think I'm making it up. Baked beans, baked beans. Yeah, what else? But sometimes people, without being prompted, without being given that support from the likes of us, they won't think about breathing exercises. There's a wonderful one for coughs and colds as part of our yoga routine. She does a whole bunch of tapping, Doen, I think it's called. There's tapping here, here at the top of the lungs, helps clear your lungs, and then also stretches and things to help expel stale air from your lungs and things like that. Amazing. I didn't know about any of this stuff a couple of years ago. It's all coming seeping in. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing though sometimes. We've got to make sure that we're getting the right support, getting the right help. And yeah, Dennis, like you said, contacting the GP, finding out about what people can do, but also having that conversation in the first place, I think is huge. Right, I've got one more person. So he's 58, he's recently separated from his partner, and he likes spending time playing darts and pool in the pub. But yes, so this guy that's in the pub, walk and talk group is an amazing thing for him because he's mobile, he likes sociability, he likes chatting to other people, he doesn't like sport per se and getting out of breath. So actually putting him in a social situation where he's continuing to do very low level exercise is a great thing. It's just a really nice thing. And I think also doing it by stealth, kind of, I don't say, yes, we're walking and we're doing, and we're promoting walking and health. No, it's just a walk and talk group because we know that's going to help us. And it's a good thing to do. And we do it consistently. And if you want to come, come. And if you don't want to come, don't come. These are the approaches that we take. Right, next one is haven't got time. I get that expression a lot. It's really nice, Ed. Thanks for talking to me about the things that you're talking to me about. Lots of people have talked to me about these things, and I appreciate that, but I just haven't got time. To which I go, okay, next time we talk, we'll talk about how we make time. And then he goes, no, but I've just told you that I haven't got time. I'm like, okay, so how can we make time in our schedules? Often if people are working, I'll say, can you walk to work once a week? No, because I drive. I went, well, what? It's too far. Well, can you drive halfway and then get on a bike or park in the furthest corner of the car park and walk up the stairs? Little things, little things. 2 bus stops early. That's quite an interesting one. So people that are bussing into the city to work, getting off the bus 2 bus stops early and doing a 20-minute walk at the beginning of their day. Some people that do that every day say to me that it has a huge, profound impact on them. By the time they get to work, the blood's pumping, they're energized, they're ready, they kind of feel happy to be at work. They're not arriving at work late or, oh, what am I doing? They're putting this time, this plan, this energy into doing something for themselves as well as attending their work. Cycling instead, using the stairs, already mentioned that. Lunch break activities. I used to work in a prison, and one of the things that we noticed was those people that weren't part of the security of the prison, if they could leave the prison site, that was really important for their mental health. I worked in the library in the prison, so whilst all the prisoners were off getting their lunch, secure in another part of the prison, we'd go for a walk, come rain or shine, and it hugely changed the way that we worked. It's kind of an extreme observation, but if we can, do it once a week, do it twice a week, do it 3 times a week. These little things can really build up. Start enabling us, start hearing ourselves say, yes, we are going to do this. Home exercise. Joe Wicks, we've talked about YouTube videos and DVDs and things like that. These things are great. If they work for you, fab. There are some really, really brilliant things that people can do. And there are things which are weighted for lots and lots of different abilities, age groups, styles. Playing in the park. Kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, dogs, go to the park, have a laugh, kick football about. I did it all summer long, and it was one of the best things I did each week. Did it as part of my walk and talk group. I think I mentioned it earlier. Just having a few people just have a kick about with, get a cricket bat, knock a tennis ball about. It's wonderful. Often people will say housework, gardening, make a plan around that if we're actually housebound. There are lots and lots of things that we can do to change our internal environment to make our mental health feel better. Housework, if done in a certain way, can also account to that 25 minutes of exercise each day. People have talked to me about joining a gym already, exercise, social life, all connected with team sports, being able to be part of something greater. That has really, really positive effects on people. Some people hate the idea of team sports though. So it doesn't have to be about sport at all. It could be volunteering in nature. We have a whole different projects of things going on around here where people wear fluorescent vests and pick up litter from beach walks and the coastal path and saw down hedgerows and clear out ponds. And are you going to be physically fit from that? No, but are you enabling the blood to pump around your body and getting you 25 minutes a day? Yeah, of course you are. Walk groups, volunteer support groups, walking football for over 55s. I didn't know about this until about a year and a half ago, just before COVID hit, but it's brilliant. I'm kind of looking forward to being 55 to be able to join. Just, you're not allowed to run, but they play half an hour each way, and they are sweating. And it's kind of like if chess took over a game of football, it's wonderful because it's this very slow passing, yeah, very quick, very just a different way of playing a game that we used to play. We talked about swimming. Sometimes to get people out, I take them to play pitch and putt or foot golf. And so if you've got a local sort of 9-hole pitch and putt council golf course near you, it's a great laugh. Oh, what fun. And generally it's like a really nice walk in the countryside. You're surrounded by trees, or at least green fields, and the foot golf is a football, and rather than use a golf club and a tiny little golf ball, which I generally lose every time I go and do that sort of thing, £1 a time I have to pay. Outrageous. But the football you kick around ends up in a bucket next to the green, and for people with mobility issues or with sort of fine motor control issues, I work with some older guys that have a number of issues, and it doesn't have to be people doing goalkeeper kicks. It's just about creating a game out of it which makes sense for the guys that we're working with. Hiking, camping, getting out, being somewhere different. We run a whole bunch of camps as part of Men's Craft, getting men out into woodlands, changing their environments. They also do overnight camping as part of a project that we run, and just getting people to change their environments, sleep somewhere different, be somewhere different, cook differently, have to get water from a tap to boil it in a kettle above a fire. It blows some people's minds. And actually, sometimes people will say, well, that's got nothing to do with physical fitness or fitness and mental health. I completely argue that it does. Sometimes all we have to do is change our environment to be able to do that. I know Tom's got lots and lots of links about what the local community has on offer, and I know sometimes it's a bit galling hearing someone from another county go, well, this is what we do. The point of what we do is that it can be done anywhere. The point of what we do is that we're working with people, we're working shoulder to shoulder going, what is it that you want? Rather than saying, you need to go swimming twice a week. Full stop. No, we want to work with people. All the ideas that I've talked to you about are based on conversations that I've had with people. I'm not playing table tennis in front of anyone else, Ed. 3 months later, he is. He's leading sessions. He's showing people how to put spin on it, telling what the red and the black sides mean on the table tennis racket. It's great. Eating better, sleeping better, having fun, combating social isolation, doing something different. Don't like it? Try something else. Don't like that? Try something else. Keep trying. I went through, I think, almost a dozen different activities before I settled on Pilates for my own mental health and physical health needs. And yeah, definitely find the thing that works, because there will be something out there that works for you. Fresh air, being out of doors. It's really good for us. And when people start realizing that, start building that into their lives, we notice huge impacts on their behavior, their well-being, and their mental health. A lot of physical fitness has got to do with mindfulness. I did a whole talk on mindfulness, the one before this one. Building up relationships with people around you, connecting with other people. Sometimes it is, well, not sometimes, I think it's probably all the time, it's fear of being vulnerable that stops us. It's fear of other people around us sort of ridiculing us or finding what we're doing silly or stupid. But actually, that shouldn't stop us engaging with activities. If that's the worst thing, what we want to do is improve our immediate situations. What we want to do is create situations which inspire other people to be fitter and healthier, because that has a huge impact on our mental health. Thanks, Tom. I think that's all of what I did. I sort of rushed through a bit of the last bit, but I just wanted to make sure we had time at the end for questions and any ideas and thoughts that you guys have had about not only this session, but any of the other sessions that we've done over this last month. It's been a real pleasure to be able to share some of the stuff that we're doing here in Norfolk, and it'd be really interesting to maintain contact with HW Links and your good selves to find out in the future whether or not any of the things that we've talked about today have gone on to grow into something more. Over to you guys.